Public health restrictions continue to ease across the country. Government-issued mask mandates, proof of vaccination, and work-from-home policies are all coming or have already come to an end. But what happens when workplaces want to keep them enforced? Joining us now to answer some of those questions is employment lawyer Lior Samfiru. Good morning to you, Lior. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Candace.
So the indoor mask mandate, as we all know, ended in Ontario earlier this week, but a lot of companies are deciding to keep them in place. So can employers require this? And I guess more importantly, can employees challenge it?
Certainly, it's something that I've been seeing quite often. Employers are still hesitant to say, well, let's go back completely to normal. Let's at least keep these masks until we know how things progress. Now, overall, this is considered a fairly minimal intrusion on employee comfort. And because of that, yes, employers are able and are allowed to continue to require masks be worn in the workplace, despite the fact that there's no government requirement that they do so. So there's not much that employees are going to be able to do if they're asked to require to wear masks. That said, you may have employees that for medical reasons may not be able to wear masks. Maybe they have breathing issues. If they have a doctor's note saying they cannot wear a mask in these circumstances, an employer does have to accommodate, and they have to take that duty to accommodate seriously. They can't just say, well, everyone is doing it, so you have to, if there is a legitimate medical reason.
Okay, so what about vaccination status? Showing proof of vaccination is no longer necessary at places like restaurants and gyms. So can employers still ask this of staff?
This is where I think that the answers are going to be different. This is where employers must take guidance from government. So if the government says you no longer need this, then I would absolutely caution employers from still requiring that vaccine passports be provided or proof of vaccination. There are privacy issues there. There's other legal issues as well where you can be potentially infringing on if you're asking for this information when it's not legally required. So now that there's no government mandates, at least in a lot of workplaces with respect to vaccinations, I would tell employers, take that guidance. Don't insist on vaccination status. You can avoid legal trouble in heeding that advice.
I see. So can employers force employees back into the office at this point?
So it's been fairly understood that working from home during the pandemic was specific to that situation. We were in a pandemic, maybe coming into the office were not safe. So in that unique situation, a lot of employers had employees work from home. Now, what flows from that is an employer is able to require employees to go back to pre-pandemic arrangements. So if before the pandemic you were a regular in-office employee, then yes, in most cases your employer is able to say, now come back. That said, employers certainly have to take all measures to ensure that the workplace is safe and healthy. And also they have to accommodate any family obligations for those that may now need to find childcare, or even for those that have medical reasons that may prevent them from coming into the workplace. Yes, and employers have to accommodate, and that may mean allowing employees to continue working from home at least for some period of time. For other employees, yes, you can be told to go back to your pre-pandemic arrangements.
I see. And staying on the topic of commuting, Lior, gas prices, as we all know, have skyrocketed in recent weeks. Can employees ask for their gas costs to be covered by their employer, or are they allowed to continue working from home on that basis, that it's too expensive to come in?
Yeah, this has been a huge topic with the gas prices being what they are now, potentially increasing even more. The bad news for employees is that any requirement for the employer to provide a pay increase has to be tied to a term in an employment agreement. So if your employment agreement specifically provides that as inflation increases or gas prices increase, then you will be compensated accordingly, then yes, absolutely, the employer has to do something. But in other cases, an employer is not required to match the compensation to the cost of living. So that's a problem for many employees. That said, my best advice here is this. Talk to your employer. A lot of employers are going to want to work with you, make sure you're happy. So don't ever think that it's a bad idea to ask the question.
That is very good advice for so many parts of life. But thank you once again. That is employment lawyer Lior Samfiru. Have a great day.
Thank you, Candace.